the hell that I was in, I'd do anything to be better.
I thought like a lunatic.
You gotta just have like that little bit of hope that it will get better. You're gonna make it.
This began my surrender.
I am a witness of my own growth.
It's a life beyond your wildest dreams, and I just have to say, it works if you work it.
My story, that's what I share.
You're listening to Far From Finished, a weekly podcast where we share new, real-life stories of hope and triumph, told by the people who live them. Today's story comes to us from...
Hi, my name is Sara, and I'm 24 years old, and my sobriety date is March 24th, 2015. I've always, ever since I grew up, I always felt really different. I felt like I didn't fit in, and, I felt like there was just always something really weird and, different about me. And that led to a lot of, self-consciousness and a lot of fear, and led to a lot of, attention-seeking and people-pleasing as well. I felt like I wasn't worth having any friends. I just went through a lot of, depression and, anxiety, and I just never felt okay. I had great parents that did the best that they could, and, I had, a family. I had hobbies. I did all these other things, and, I just always felt like crap, all the time. And, I don't know, the only thing that at the time that really fixed that for me was either getting people's attention, whether it be negative or positive, or using drugs and using substances. And my mom was an alcoholic and she drank, and so when I would see her drinking, even if it was bad, even if I didn't like the outcome, she looked like she was having a great time, so I don't know, and didn't have a lot of friends, was always trying to, but I don't know, I just never really worked well with people. But I found what I guess you would call your social footing in the party scene. That's when I felt accepted, and that's when I finally felt normal, and yeah, it was just always a roller coaster. My life always felt really dramatic. There was always something going on, always someone I was mad at, or I can't think of a time where I was genuinely, serenely happy, growing up. No matter, even though I had, a pretty good life growing up, it just never felt like that. And that addiction, at first, there's definitely a difference between how I perceived it and the reality, right? And how I perceived it was that I was fitting in and that I was doing what everybody else did, and therefore, it's normal, it's okay. And the people that I hung out with, they drank in class, so I did too. And so I just think I'm doing what all my friends are doing, and I feel like this is what growing up is experimenting with drugs and alcohol and all of these things. And then eventually it came to a point, and I remember this moment very clearly. I had just moved to Austin, and I was probably 21, and my mom had just died because alcoholism took her, and I realized that there was no way I could live without anything mind-altering, alcohol. I woke up one morning sober with nothing, and I was what do I do? And that was paralyzing fear. That was the first time I can really remember feeling that paralyzing, oh my gosh, And then, obviously, I still used for a number of years before I got sober. But I don't know, there's moments of, oblivion, but there was still no true happiness, Eventually, my journey took me to being homeless, and I was living on the streets of Austin, and, not just, living in a shelter. I was, living in a campsite, and I had no self-esteem. I was filled with guilt and shame, and it was really horrible. And just when I first came in, I didn't feel like I was worth treatment, and I didn't feel like I deserved it. And then I don't know, it was really hard. The first few weeks were difficult, and unfortunately I relapsed in treatment, but thankfully that relapse did show me it was when that relapse happened, that everything that I'd learned from the past 2 weeks finally clicked. And I was oh my gosh, I really do have a problem. I really do need to listen to what they're saying and get a sponsor and listen to these groups and try this therapy thing. Because I've tried everything else to get sober. And maybe what this treatment center is offering me could help me, and that was when I finally gave up and started to try recovery. And it's been amazing. Like, ever since I got sober, like, I don't know, I never imagined, one, that I would live to be 24, two, that I could live this happily. You know, like, I've never been the type of person that would do something like this or have confidence. And now, like, I enjoy waking up in the morning, and I enjoy, like, helping people and talking to people and stuff like that. So it's great. I was a lying, cheating, stealing, like, not the best. Like, you didn't want to hang out with me. Like, you didn't want to associate yourself with me. I didn't ever really try anything. I thought that I was owed things, like I was owed happiness, or I was owed money, or, you know, whatever. And I never had, like, confidence. I was never happy. And now, like, looking back on it, like, I try new things all the time, and I get out of my comfort zone, and I make my own decisions, with spiritual help, of course, but, like, I have confidence that I can think for myself, and I can be better than what I was, because before I thought I was just going to live and die a junkie, and that was, you know, that was my life. And now I know that I have a future, and that's something that is still mind-boggling, like today. When I was struggling, the hardest thing for me to do was be honest, whether it be honest with myself or to be honest with another person. And I really didn't want to. Like, I wanted to take a lot of secrets with me to the grave, and I didn't want to admit, one, that I was an addict, one, that I was an alcoholic, you know, like, that I had all these problems, that I'm the problem, you know. And I would just really advise to ask for help. I mean, there were tons of times, like, when I was homeless and people would come up to me and they'd offer to take me to their treatment centers, and I'd be like, no, I'm okay, because I can handle it, right? Because I'm doing so great right now, you know? And, like, just to take the help. I mean, like, we're not going to turn you away. So